Hi, everybody. I'm Dave McCann with BYU TV football analyst Blaine Fowler. This is a True Blue Extra and gives us a chance to talk about what in the world happened at the end of that football game on Saturday night. I've seen it a couple of times and I've read about it, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, and everybody talks about what a good football game it was. Come on. That was a terrible football game until the end. Both teams making mistakes throughout, and it was not a well-played football game. But everybody will just remember the end of that thing, and the fact that it came down to the wire, and there were 3 different opportunities to win the ball game and all of that. But what I'll remember is sitting there agonizingly watching what I thought was a terribly played football game with a lot of mistakes and too many errors for such a big football game.
It seemed to me BYU was a better team in so many different ways, except they got beat, so you salute the Utes and go, well, you know what, that night Utah ended up the better team on the football field. But you look at BYU held Utah to 49 yards rushing and lost.
The one thing that they didn't do that we talked about last week was win the turnover battle.
Yeah, that's true.
And Utah, to their credit, 0 turnovers. So John Hayes did what they asked him to do. Don't go lose the game.
Right.
You don't have to go win the game, just don't go lose it.
Let those guys.
Yeah, let those guys lose the game.
And they did.
When you have 2 great defenses, as these 2 teams do, that's what happens. It's not who's going to win, it's who's going to lose it. And BYU gives up turnovers that turn into points, and that ends up being the difference in the ballgame. And you add to that they had a big punt return that went to the 17-yard line. Remember, that was a 1-play drive for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. They return the ball to the 17, and they throw the touchdown pass. Kyle Van Noy is in position and somehow slips out of bounds, and the tight end for Utah makes the catch.
Grabs it with one hand.
And so there's a 1-play drive, 17 yards on that one. They have a 1-play drive on the deep ball to Drez Anderson on the post after a quick turn, after a turnover. Right. And they have a touchdown on a defensive play on a snap that goes for a touchdown.
That's it.
That's how you win a ball game when you only have 245 yards of total offense. Typically, with 245, you would score between 7 and 10 points. They get 24 because of errors. So it was 2 great defenses. Who's going to lose the game? BYU lost.
All right, I'm going to still ask you about the finish. But before we get to there, how is it that a quarterback and a center, no matter how raucous the arena is, how is it that those 2 can be not on the same page for so long in a football game?
Yeah, remember, we started off that game with a snap that came when Riley wasn't ready for it. And if Kruger does not face mask Riley Nelson, that's a safety.
Yeah.
BYU escaped a big problem there.
It was Jake keeps revisiting.
Yeah, because
it's like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, at least Riley made an athletic play on it, I would say, and he did get grabbed by the face mask.
Yeah.
But think about that. If that's a safety, then BYU's punting the football back or kicking the football from their own 20, and Utah has good field position, and that changes the game. Fortunately, there was a face mask, and it didn't have a big impact.
Even though that face mask may have been what knocked
rattled
Riley out of sorts for the rest of the night.
So, and then the biggest play of the game, without question, is the snap that went by. BYU's down in scoring position, ready to, if they get a touchdown, it's 14-10, BYU's up. Even if they have to settle for a field goal, it's tied at 10-10. What a turnaround when that snap goes by, and multiple errors. First of all, you have hand and foot signals that they do between them, and somehow they got messed up. Riley was trying to signal out to wide receiver a different play, and the center thought that he was signaling him snap the football. That was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 was you just have to fall on the ball. You don't try to pick it up ever when you're at a loss. You just take your loss, take your lumps, and come back on the next play. They tried to scoop the ball up, and the ball just kept going forward. The next thing you know, well, they scoop the ball up. Utah scoops the ball up, and they go back for a touchdown. That was a devastating play. Now, to BYU's credit, they battled back and put themselves in a position to win when we got to that bizarre ending. But that was the turning point in the ball game.
All right, it's 4th and 12. Cougars haven't done much at this point. They're backed up. Crowd's going crazy. They have no timeouts. And it's like it's shades of Max Hall to Austin Collie, shades of Brandon Doman to Jonathan Pittman, even years ago. And then somehow Riley hooks up with a wide open Cody Hoffman behind the defense. How does this even happen?
Well, it shouldn't happen. It's just crazy that it happens. And you know that Utah talked about this with their guys. It can't happen this many times in this game and still be that situation. Riley got almost good enough protection. This could have been a touchdown if he can throw it out there far enough for Cody Hoffman to have to accelerate to the football and run away from the safety. But come on. Sometime in a meeting this last week, you would think that Kalani Sitake and the Utah staff would have said, now, guys, if we get in a 4th and long situation at the end of the game,
back.
Just backpedal. Nobody gets over the top of you. But what happened is Mo Lee looked back into the backfield. He thought that Riley should have been sacked at that point. He looked back to see where he was. And at the time when he looked back, Cody was on an inside breaking route. By the time you look back around, he lost him. It only takes 1 second. If you're distracted for 1 second, you're in trouble in that secondary. I couldn't believe that happened again.
The next play, Riley's back to pass. We're thinking, all right, he's going to go 10 yards to try to get in the field goal range. Everyone's thinking that, including the Utes.
Right.
And so Hoffman runs a route that makes it look like that. Then he turns upfield, and he's heading to the end zone open for a touchdown pass. And this is where Riley's going, but what happens?
He just doesn't get enough protection to be able to,
look at
to deliver it.
At the 20-yard line, Hoffman's made his break.
Hoffman is open. He's standing on the 15 right now, and the receiver's caught up after the tip ball, and you see the 1 second still left on the game, and everybody thinks it's over because the timekeeper let it click off to 0, but they were going for the game on that one. On the road, I like that mentality, be aggressive and go for it, and that he was open. The safety, no way he's going to get over there in time, and the corner had bid on the out because just like you said, we were all thinking a quick out, get the ball out of bounds, set up and kick a field goal and tie this thing.
So one block, despite all that, one block to give Riley one more second, and maybe it's a whole different
It's
outcome.
a game of seconds and inches, and it really is. And if on both of those plays, if Riley Nelson can set his feet, get his hips through the ball, and get enough on the football, there's possibilities for touchdowns on those plays.
All right, so what was your take on the 51-yard field goal try, which is blocked? Justin Sorensen kick gets blocked, but J.D. Foslev, who's as heads up of a player as we've seen in years, grabs the ball and starts running around. It's a live ball, but the Utes team, coaches, and fans think it's over, so they storm the field, but it's not over.
No, it's not. In fact, what would have been a legal play there is if he wanted to stop, and I'm talking about J.D. Foslev, and throw the football, as long as it was backward, completely across the field to the other sideline, and BYU had a player over there, that would have been legal, a lateral. It would be a legal lateral. So the fact that their team is completely on the field all the way to halfway across the field.
It's not just their fans. The whole team
It
was
eliminates the opportunity to do that, so you've got to call the penalty. The officials got it right. I'm tired of hearing the last 2 days that the Muss and Utah's fan section almost cost them the game. Hey, their team led the charge out on the field.
Right.
You watch the video of that their entire team.
Kyle Whittingham's out on the field.
And all of their coaches are halfway out the field. You can turn and say, hey, our fans, well, the team was on the field along with the fans. They didn't penalize the fans. They penalized the team and the fans. And you eliminated an opportunity. Who knows what might have happened, and they did end up tackling, but it's against the rules. And to the credit of the Pac-12 officiating crew, they got it right. In fact, they got the timing error right, and they got that play right. And now it was on BYU to go make a 36-yard field goal.
So they put the punter in to kick the field goal. And Sorensen had already missed the 48-yarder, had a 51-yarder block, so they figure he's done. So then they say, hey, Riley, you go in and kick. He hadn't kicked all game, except for maybe the extra point or whatever, or Justin Sorensen, or Riley Stevenson. Riley Stevenson had to go in and kick the short field goal, and then he doinks it off the post.
Yeah, and the ball looked like it was flying true, and then right-footed kickers from the right hash, there's always going to be a little hook to the football, and it hooked over and just hit the upright. We're talking, again, a game of seconds, a game of inches.
I like BYU's chances in overtime.
6 inches to the right, that thing goes right through, and I think the fact that the fans had come on the field twice, and that the coaches had taken their headsets off twice, and to have to usher those people back up into the stands, BYU would have taken all the momentum into the
It was set up to be
overtime.
one of the most painful Ute losses in history, and it turns out the pain's on the
But you go back,
BYU.
and the end of the game never happens if BYU takes care of the football.
Right.
2 turnovers resulted in points in both instances, and BYU loses a 3-point ball game. You hold a team to 245 yards of total offense. At most, they should have 10 points on the board. But the turnovers prove costly. The big punt return turns costly. And so they can look back earlier in the game. This isn't on Riley Stevenson hooking a field goal into the upright. This is on mental errors earlier in the ball game, and that's how you lose a ball game, a big game on the road.
Some things to clean up for Thursday night. We'll see you before the game on Countdown to Kickoff, and then it's BYU Boise State at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. For Blaine Fowler, I'm Dave McCann. We'll see you later in the week.